On January 5th, 2019, a single fish crossed an auction block in Tokyo. The bidding climbed methodically: 5 million yen, 50 million yen, 100 million yen. When the gavel fell, a bluefin tuna, 3.3 meters of muscle and fat, had sold for $3.1 million. That would have been the story, except it wasn't. The record held for just 2 years. In January 2021, another bluefin tuna arrived at the same market. This one was smaller, younger, less experienced at the hunt. Yet when the bidding concluded, the price had shattered the previous record by more than 3 times. The final bid, $3.27 million. Then came January 2013. An enormous specimen, almost 500 pounds of pure protein and oil, entered the same auction house. The bidding was relentless. The final hammer fell at $1.76 million per pound. Converted to total price, it reached $10 million. A single fish. More money than most people earn in a lifetime. The question that matters isn't how this happened. It's why anyone would ever pay this amount for something that swims. To understand this price, you must first understand where bluefin tuna live and who hunts them. The Pacific bluefin is not a creature of casual existence. It is built for war. Its body maintains internal temperature higher than the surrounding ocean, a trait shared with only 5 other fish species on Earth. This thermoregulation allows the bluefin to survive in cold waters and pursue prey across entire ocean basins. It is simultaneously one of the slowest growing fish and one of the most expensive animals ever deliberately hunted. For nearly 2,000 years, Japan developed a sophisticated cultural relationship with bluefin tuna. Medieval records document organized fisheries. By the 1800s, bluefin was a protein staple, not a luxury. Fishermen caught them for survival. The meat was preserved, salted, dried. It was sustenance, not currency. Then everything changed. In the 1960s, Japanese businessmen realized something profound. The fatty belly section of bluefin, the otoro, possessed a texture and flavor that commanded extraordinary prices among Tokyo's wealthy elite. The supply was limited. The demand was infinite. A transformation began. What had been food for commoners became treasure for the exclusive few. By the 1970s, the bluefin fishery had evolved into something unprecedented in human history, an industry where a single animal could represent months of investment, years of specialized knowledge, and entire livelihoods compressed into one auction moment. The price accelerated through each decade. By 1990, premium bluefin sold for $100 per pound. By 2000, $300. By 2010, $500. The species, meanwhile, faced an opposite trajectory. In 1970, Pacific bluefin populations were estimated at 455,000 individual fish. By 2010, that number had collapsed to 22,500, a 95% reduction within 4 decades. The very fish that became more valuable financially became less available in the ocean. Scientists issued warnings, governments imposed quotas, international fishing commissions held emergency meetings, yet the economic incentive was too powerful. A single bluefin tuna could command enough money to pay a fishing vessel's operating costs for an entire season. Fishermen from Japan, South Korea, Australia, and Mexico raced to catch every remaining fish before competitors did. It was a race toward extinction. Conservation groups called it catastrophic. Environmental agencies reported that at current harvest rates, the species would functionally collapse by 2025. Meanwhile, traditional fishing villages depended entirely on the bluefin season for annual income. Environmental sustainability and human survival appeared to be in direct conflict. Yet beneath this contradiction lay an unexpected opportunity. What if the species could be saved not by restricting fishing, but by perfecting it? What if, instead of hunting wild bluefin across the ocean, the industry learned to raise them in captivity, breeding them, controlling their feeding and growth, harvesting them at optimal weight? The contradiction seemed insurmountable. How could an ocean predator, a creature that travels thousands of miles annually, that hunts with precision honed over millennia, survive in a cage? The answer would require Japan to engineer a solution that had never been attempted on this scale. The bluefin tuna would enter a new world, and the species would find a way to survive. Japanese aquaculture researchers began their work in the 1970s. The first challenge: catching young bluefin in the wild and keeping them alive during transport. Most died. Stress, starvation, disease. The juvenile tuna couldn't survive net capture. After 2 decades of failed experiments, researchers developed a revolutionary technique. They would position massive nets in natural migration routes, creating enormous floating enclosures. Young bluefins still swam freely, but within controlled boundaries. The first stage of captive breeding involved selection. Japanese aquaculturists would observe thousands of juvenile fish and choose only the most robust specimens, those displaying aggression, speed, and competitive feeding behavior. These fish would be transferred into progressively smaller net pens. The stress was intentional. Fish that survived this transition carried the genetics needed for captive life. Next came the critical middle stage: diet engineering. Wild bluefin consume live fish at hunting speeds: mackerel, herring, sardines. Captive bluefin required a formula. Researchers tested combinations of whole fish, ground fish products, and eventually developed sophisticated pellet feeds containing precise ratios of protein and fat. The breakthrough came when they realized captive bluefin would accept frozen baitfish if it was moved mechanically, simulating the escape motion of living prey. Feeding efficiency increased from 45% to 68% within 5 years. Temperature control emerged as the next transformation. Natural ocean conditions fluctuate constantly. Controlled facilities maintained stable 20 to 22 degrees Celsius water. However, This stability proved counterintuitive. Fish grew faster but developed less optimal fat distribution. Researchers then deliberately introduced seasonal temperature variations, mimicking natural cycles. Growth rates decreased. Fat quality improved dramatically. The fourth phase involved selective breeding. Japanese farmers tracked the genetic lineages of thousands of captive bluefin, identifying which families produced superior meat quality. After 3 generations of strategic breeding, captive raised bluefin developed marbling patterns matching their wild counterparts. The meat achieved the same fatty composition, the otoro quality, that commanded premium prices. By the mid-2000s, Japanese aquaculturists had accomplished what seemed impossible. They were producing bluefin tuna that matched or exceeded the quality of wild-caught fish. Except these fish were born in captivity, raised in controlled environments, and ready for market within 24 to 30 months. The contradiction had resolved itself through engineering and discipline. The data became undeniable. In 2000, captive raised bluefin represented 0.3% of the Japanese market. By 2010, that figure reached 18%. By 2020, captive raised bluefin accounted for 45% of Japan's bluefin supply. Meanwhile, wild bluefin catches declined from their historic highs but stabilized rather than collapsed completely. The population, once plummeting toward extinction, began to show signs of recovery. Economically, the transformation proved staggering. Japan's aquaculture sector generates $15 billion annually in revenue. Bluefin farming alone represents $2 billion of that figure. More significantly, it created 8,000 direct jobs in farming communities that had historically depended on wild fishing. Entire regions that faced economic obsolescence found renewed viability. The premium prices persisted. Auction records continued to climb, driven by speculative investment and celebrity prestige purchases. The $3.27 million tuna, sold in 2021, was indeed captive raised, meaning Japanese aquaculture had achieved the remarkable, creating a farmed product so identical to its wild equivalent that buyers couldn't distinguish the two. The price remained equally astronomical. Environmental agencies confirmed the shift was working. Pacific bluefin populations, while still fragile, stabilized at approximately 40,000 individual fish by 2022. Experts affirmed that without the aquaculture industry's intervention, wild populations would have continued their catastrophic decline. But the price itself reveals something deeper than economics. For Tokyo's wealthy elite, bluefin represents connection to tradition, the continuation of culinary heritage extending back centuries. Each $3 million purchase is simultaneously an investment in technique, engineering, and cultural continuity. The fishermen and farmers understand this. They view themselves as custodians of a practice, not merely producers of a commodity. Generations of knowledge compressed into each decision about temperature control, feed composition, and selective breeding. It is this stewardship that justifies the extraordinary cost. The price exists, not because bluefin is the rarest food, it isn't. Japanese excellence applied to aquaculture, to precision, to the pursuit of perfection. A $10 million fish seemed incomprehensible until you understood the contradiction it embodied. How could an endangered species become more valuable and more available simultaneously? The answer? It survived because its value made it worth saving through engineering. The contradiction that opened this story has resolved, and in its resolution, we learned that the most expensive things rarely are. They're the result of perfection pursued with discipline, tradition honored through innovation, and extinction averted not through restraint, but through mastery.